going to be very emotional for me for sure.
It's the return that's been circled on the schedule since the big trade. Luka Doncic heading back to Dallas as a Laker. We've got reporter Tim MacMahon live in Dallas and NBA analyst Monica McNutt with us. But Tim, we'll start with you. You've covered the Mavs extensively, and you literally wrote a book on Luka Doncic called The Wonder Boy. So you have great expertise on the player and the franchise. What kind of atmosphere are you expecting out there in Dallas?
Howdy, Amina. Look, this is going to be awkward because you have a franchise that decided to dump a superstar months removed from the NBA Finals run, and they've got to embrace it now. They've got to show appreciation. These are the T-shirts that are going to be on every seat at the American Airlines Center. This translates to thanks for everything. In Slovenia, I'm sure that'll soothe any hard feelings Luka might have after being dumped and, frankly, publicly shamed on the way out the door. Now, for the fans, this is going to be a surreal, emotional experience. Same for Luka Doncic. This is going to be a celebration of 6.5 years of spectacular brilliance, and it's also going to be a fan base that is mourning the fact that they didn't get much more. They felt like Luka Doncic, like Dirk Nowitzki, who he took the torch from, was going to be theirs forever. The statue outside the arena that says loyalty never fades away. That's kind of the ethos of the Mavericks fan base until just before midnight Central on February 1st when Luka Doncic shockingly traded months removed from an NBA Finals run. And there's been a lot of anger. There's been a lot of outrage. There's been apathy. Tonight, it's going to be a surreal, emotional experience at the American Airlines Center as he makes his return.
Yeah, so many emotions expected out there in Dallas, from everything from being happy to sad. Those fans, they've been through it down there. Game is tonight at 7:30 right here on ESPN. Tim, thanks so much for the insight.
All right, let's keep things rolling with our friend Monica McNutt. All right, Tim said surreal. What do you expect tonight when Luka returns?
Tim also said howdy, which I'm going to steal. I think that Luka's going to be locked in. Look, this is going to be an emotional game. And while this is the story that we all should be talking about, I get it in terms of the arc of the NBA in this one. The actual story is the fact that the Lakers need to win this ball game because in the Western Conference, seeds 3 through 8 are separated by a game. And so at some point, all of the emotion is going to have to be put aside unless it is fueling Luka to help his team advance and win this basketball game. I think having been ejected last night in terms of being on his P's and Q's about understanding how important he is to his team and them getting the win to continue the master plan. Because, yes, he could have a great game back in Dallas to stick it to the ownership, or he could surprise run the Lakers to the Western Conference Finals to really stick it to the ownership.
Yeah, it will be emotional for sure, but Luka, he scored a franchise record 28.6 points per game in his 6+ years in Dallas. We'll see what he's able to do tonight. Let's shift our focus to Denver, where the Nuggets, they visit the Kings at 10 Eastern on ESPN. It'll be their first game since the firing of their head coach, Michael Malone. Denver has lost 4 straight games. They're under 500 since the All-Star break, and they rank 20th in defensive efficiency this season. Now, Malone's firing, it ends one of the most successful player-coach duos in recent memory. Malone and Jokic won 449 games together, which was the third most by an active player-coach tandem in the NBA entering yesterday. Steve Kerr is a part of the top 2. He and Stephen Curry and Draymond Green. The Nuggets, they do not have time to get nostalgic. The Western Conference playoff race is very, very tight, as we know. Denver finds itself in a 4-way tie for 4th in the West today, with the top 6 teams avoiding the play-in tournament. The Nuggets, they have a 64% chance to avoid the play-in, according to ESPN Analytics. All right, so Monica, what do you see as the outlook for Denver with only the coach that Jokic has ever known?
Christine, my girl, we've been talking about this all morning, and I have now come to this conclusion that the Kroenkes, as far as being leaders and owners of this organization, they are not going to make this decision if they don't believe they actually are somehow in a better position, whether it be in the short term or long term, without Michael Malone. I don't necessarily know how that's going to plan out, but I do not think that this decision was made lightly. It, to me, provides an opportunity for a championship core and an MVP caliber in Nikola Jokic to close ranks and to be energized. If we go back earlier in the season when Mike Brown was fired from Sacramento, Doug Christie took over, and those guys rattled off 10 out of 12 in terms of the wins over the next dozen games. Could Adelman provide the fresh voice and a little sprinkle of twist from the way that Michael Malone used to do things that could help galvanize or energize at a minimum this group to get at least through the first round series and, of course, establish their position in the Western Conference seeding.
And I think it's very interesting. I don't know if it was Wendy that said that they wanted to get him out before the postseason so they couldn't give him the credit for the success. A very interesting situation there in Denver. All right, let's wrap things up with our favorite segment. You already know what it is. What's what with Monica McNutt. All right, you know how it goes, Monty.
Yeah, girl.
What's what with the Clippers, Mon?
All right, so we just looked at those standings, Christine, and they could end up fourth in the standings. Now, look, they have to make sure they control their own destiny in terms of winning down the stretch with the last 3 games remaining. But quietly, James Harden has had a terrific season. Kawhi Leonard has been healthy, and playing through Ivica Zubac has given this team both size and identity on both sides of the basketball. I think they're flying under the radar.
I agree. What's what with the Pacers?
All right, let's draw this one out. 13 of their last games, they've only won 11 of them. They are on a roll. Yes, you see the 5 straight, but if you stretch it out, 11 out of 13, and they're just playing ball. If you remember last year, this group was high scoring. They got 7 guys that average double figures. They get up and down the floor. They're top 10 in scoring, around 117 points. They're going to be a force to deal with in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't talking about them enough. What's what with the Bucks?
This one is a little tricky for me, Christine. I have noticed, and everyone should have noticed, Giannis Antetokounmpo 3 consecutive triple-doubles now, and that huge comeback last night after being down 24 points to get the win over Minnesota. This one, to me, is how much does Giannis still have in the tank to carry a team? We all want to see Damian Lillard get healthy, of course, but if he's not available, that's going to drastically change what the Bucks are going to look like in this postseason. And we know that this window is important for them as free agency is looming when it comes to Giannis.
Yeah, we'll see if they're able to figure out.
Fueled Eleanor Roosevelt High School's California state title run. He set the state open division boys basketball single game scoring record with 44 points in the CIF championship game at Sacramento's Golden One Center. 5 programs remain in the running for Burry's talent. Oregon, Arizona, Tennessee, Alabama, and USC were in his final 5, and those fan bases eagerly await his decision right now.
And Braden joins us now live to announce his college decision. Braden, the floor is yours.
Hi, how are you? First and foremost, I want to thank God. I thank him for everything he's done for me to put me in this situation today. To be able to have my announcement today here at this school in the city of the Inland Empire, it's great. And I want to thank my family, because without them, none of this is possible. And with that being said, I thank everybody for coming out here. And with that being said, I'll be attending the University of Arizona. Go Wildcats.
Các bạn đã đến với kênh YouTube của mình, lại là mình đây. Video ngày hôm nay mình sẽ đi tô màu để cho các bạn xem, để các bạn có những phút giây thư giãn. Và để làm video tô màu mình cần chuẩn bị những dụng cụ như sau. Bên cạnh đây là những sản phẩm mình in sẵn để mình dùng để tô màu. Và đây là những con vật, đây là những đồ vật, đây là hoa quả và còn nhiều sản phẩm khác nữa. Để làm video mình cần chuẩn bị đó là điện thoại để quay video và giá đỡ điện thoại. Bên cạnh đây là bút sáp màu. Bây giờ mời các bạn cùng theo dõi quá trình mình tô màu. Và mình mong rằng các bạn hãy like và đăng ký kênh để ủng hộ mình. Mình cảm ơn các bạn rất là nhiều.
Em sẽ tiếp tục tô màu nhé các bạn. Ôi 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 ôi.